Greetings and welcome to ComSports. Hello everybody and welcome back to another edition of ComSports. Actually a draft special edition of ComSports. Whole episode NFL driven. As always, I'm your host Kwame Fisher-Jones, and today I am joined by
Brandon Pemberton of Brandon on Sports.me and Sports Trap Radio.
And Emory Hunt with FootballGamePlan.com.
So normally we have a 3-panel lineup, but today we're just going to do 2. I got some cats that like to talk almost as much as me. So we're going to get into it a little bit. So before we talk about, it's ComSports pedigree, we always go local first. So we're going to start with the Philadelphia Eagles. And Lane, I'm just going to call him Lane right now. I have an issue with this pick, but I'm gonna start with you, Emory, and I'm gonna ask you just simple. We're hearing a lot about what Lane can do. What does he struggle at?
Well, you look at what Lane Johnson doesn't do well, and that's one thing, he doesn't really anchor down. And the most important part of an offensive line, you want to anchor, be able to reset, and keep that defensive lineman stonewalled at the line of scrimmage. Now, his lack of experience is what could cause an issue, which is why I don't think a pick this high was worthy for Lane Johnson, but the talent is there. I mean, he's athletic because he plays so many different positions.
Yeah.
But at number 4, you got to look at a guy that can come in right away and be an impact player. My own philosophy is that unless you're Orlando Pace, Jonathan Ogden, Tony Baselli, I'm not taking a tackle in the top 5. Walter Jones, I'm not taking a tackle in the top 5.
You mentioned, I'll give you a second, Brandon. You mentioned his experience. How much of his struggles focus on the fact that this is a cat that played quarterback, wide receiver, tight end? I mean, he's played a gamut of skill positions. Then you move him to the lineman position, and he's going up against the DeMarcus Ware, the Giants front line, and also the pressure that's coming in Washington. How much of his lack of experience is going to hurt him this year?
Well, that's why they have to help him by moving him to the right side and putting that tight end right there, keeping that back to Chip. You put him on that island on the left side, that could be an issue. However, in that offense with Chip Kelly, I do believe the interior offensive line is what's really important.
Okay.
You can get by with mediocre tackles, and that's why he's not mediocre, but you can get by with adequate tackle play. Your interior offensive line play has to be vital. So with that, you can get by with Lane Johnson.
Brandon, potential gets coaches fired. Production gets coaches hired.
I agree.
Now, he's talking about potential. Everything I hear about this cat is potential. Should we, as Eagles fans, should we be alarmed at the lack of, we're not hearing the word productivity, we're hearing potential?
Well, the people that are saying potential haven't seen much on tape. It's a lot of potential there because he's only played 2 years, but he's also been productive at tackle for 2 years as well, or he wouldn't have been starting in the Big 12. So, in my opinion, the progress that he's made in 2 years of playing tackle just shows you how much is left for him to get to as an NFL player. And him playing in the no-huddle system at Oklahoma and Oregon, running the up-tempo thing, and that's what Chip Kelly likes to do, it's a perfect fit for him.
When you look at him, give me a great player. Not that he just reminds you of, but someone that he does something similar to. Like, you can go all the way back to Anthony Munoz. Is he similar to Anthony Munoz? Just some skill set that he possesses that you say, it's like this player.
I would say, I think his footwork is similar to a Trey Thomas as far as athleticism. You know what I mean? The guy has elite
Trey
footwork.
Thomas?
I'm talking about footwork. I'm not saying as far as a complete player coming out, because Trey Thomas was that guy coming out of Florida State. But as far as footwork, the footwork is similar.
It's funny you bring that name because before they drafted him, I actually wanted them to, if they weren't going to go Jordan, I wanted them to go Smith, or I wanted a playmaker. I didn't want a tackle because I've used a reference point. They passed on Randy Moss for a tackle. Yeah, that tackle was good, but we would have loved to have had Randy Moss.
True.
So when you say Trey Thomas, that's why I jumped on like Trey Thomas. So that means somebody in this draft is going to be the next Randy Moss, and we're going to have our tackle for the next 12 years that has back problems. All right, now I asked him about what does he do, who do you see him, or a skill set similar to a great player?
Well, when I look at the athleticism of a Lane Johnson, that right there is going to get you in a lot of plays, and that's going to keep you alive. A lot of times you see offensive linemen tend to get clumsy, they tend to get slew-footed, as we call it, and they get beat routinely. With a guy that has that type of athleticism, he can be that dancing bear, so to speak, and keep guys. He can mirror guys at the line of scrimmage. So I think he has the footwork of, let's say, a Kyle Turley.
Yeah, I like that comparison too.
I don't like either one of them. I want to hear Hall of Famer. You're talking about Marshall
You got to be careful with that.
Yeah, all right, you don't want to jump out too early and say.
But see, here's the thing: greatness. You know greatness immediately. They may be awkward when I like to throw references out of basketball, but I feel like I say it every episode. All of life's mysteries can be solved with food, women, and movies. Okay. When you see a great movie, you may not like Usual Suspects. Everybody loves Usual Suspects. You can't tell me the first time you saw Usual Suspects, you knew exactly what was going on from beginning to end. No, but you knew that was a damn good movie. Yeah. At the end, it had you. So it's like, all right, he may be an athlete. He may have only done this for 2 years, but okay, he punches people well. Like you look at a guard, he gets into you well. That's what I wanted to hear. You gave me something that makes it comfortable, but I wanted Chip Kelly to draft his Donovan McNabb. I wanted him to draft his arguably Hall of Fame player.
Well, the Eagles don't really need much. I mean, it's a pretty good football team.
They need a quarterback.
I think they have enough on the roster to be successful.
I want championships, though. Successful, the successful isn't left up to interpretation. If you're not hoisting that trophy, you're not successful to me. If the pretty girl don't go home with you had a bad night. All right, now I want to jump. I want to jump though because I want to get to a lot of stuff. The Eagles have already made their second round pick. I'll let you know who it was in a second. But I'm gonna throw this one to you, Brandon. Who or what type of player should they grab? Do they need to grab in the second round?
They need some sort of a playmaker.
Offensive, defense.
I mean, either or. In my opinion, they switch into a 3-4 defense. In my opinion, on the roster, there's no 3-4 inside linebacker.
Okay.
They drafted Michael Kendricks last year, who, in my opinion, when I scouted him, was like a cover 2 middle linebacker, or he was going to play your will in a 4-3. DeMeco Ryans was traded because he wasn't a 3-4 inside linebacker. So at this point, they don't have a 3-4 inside linebacker. Can Jamar Chaney play that? I'm not sure. Casey Matthews can't play at all. You know what I mean?
I'm being honest.
Yeah, he can't play at all. So I'm looking at that spot.
Yeah.
Kenny Phillips is injury prone. Patrick Chung has been inconsistent. It's safeties left on the board that can play.
Yeah.
So do you look at the safety spot? So those two positions that I'm looking at on a defense that was putrid last year.
Yeah.
So you definitely need upgrades on defense.
Before I jump to you, you mentioned safety. I'm going to be honest with you. That's what I want. I want an ignorant, obnoxious, handicap parking, non-ticket paying, step in front of old ladies in the line. I want a nasty dude to come in. I don't want a guy. I don't want a guy that's going to be at Eagles Eyes on Wheels and the carnivals. I want a dude that doesn't wear dress shoes with Tim's. Like I want a nasty guy. That's what they need on there. They need an ignorant dude.
It sounds like you want the honey badger, but
Yes, that's why that was going to be my question. The nickname aside, should the Eagles go after him?
I would. Listen, you can't ignore touchdowns. You can't ignore interceptions. You can't ignore forced fumbles and sacks. Every time this guy shows up on TV, he has the ball in his hands. The funny part about it, he plays defense. That's what you want. Impactful plays. I would take the honey badger. I would have taken him in the first round because I would gamble like that on a guy that I know that can be productive and get me touchdowns.
The only issue I have with him is the nickname, but I like the ignorance. And it's the thing about football. Football's not a docile sport. You can be a nice guy, but Ray Lewis is not a nice guy. When he's with the kids, everybody's nice, but when he's on the football field, he's nasty. We don't have those guys. We got guys that go get nasty guys. We want to be the guys they go get. So you mentioned the honey badger. I hate calling him that. I don't want to call him that. That's a weak nickname, man. It's soft. Aside from him, who can they not afford to lose in the second round? Who's a player that they can't, if he's available, who can they not allow to slip through their fingertips? I'm gonna start with you.
Well, you look at safety. You mentioned it. Let's say Phillip Thomas, a guy that's an outstanding safety, ball hawk from Fresno State.
Okay.
Even let's say in the third round, we're going to see the third round later on, but you look at maybe a guy like Malachi Goodman out of Clemson. Yeah. Long arms, ideal 5 technique. That's what you want. A guy that, I know they drafted Fletcher Cox. You have 1 technique. Yeah. Now you have the 5 on the other side, Malachi Goodman. So I look at Phillip Thomas, Malachi Goodman as 2 guys they can't ignore in this draft.
And as we say that, they went with a tight end. Impressions of the move?
Zach Ertz can play. I had a late first round, early second round grade on him, so he kind of went where I thought he would go.
Not
Second best.
Though.
Brent Selleck's body's breaking down. He's been hurt plenty, chipped, banged up over the last 2-3 years. You get a guy, and a lot of times in the NFL now you can run 2 tight end sets. So Zach Ertz is a guy. Zach Ertz is a guy, along with Casey as well, who's versatile. You can line Ertz up in the slot. You can still, play Selleck at the line. You're getting production. Zach Ertz goes up, get the ball, great route runner. Not the athlete that Eifert is, slightly below that, but damn good football player.
Like I said, man, at some point you gotta get Wes Hopkins, you gotta get a Brian Dawkins. Because those are your leaders on your team. You look at the Eagles when they had their success, they had the 3 layers of defense.
Yeah.
They had a Hugh Douglas, Corey Simon on the line, had a Jeremiah Trotter in the middle, they had a Brian Dawkins on the back end.
Yeah.
Those were nasty dudes. I mean, they were great guys off the field, so we were told. But, they were nasty dudes on the field to play. That's what's going to win you games in football. Football is kind of like gladiators. You're not going to be the nicest gladiator and get things done. All right. Just final thoughts on what the Eagles, on what you think Lane and Zach will do for this team.
They're going to open up the offense. We know that Chip Kelly wants to play that high-tempo type of game. And what happens when you have a guy like Zach Ertz, you have to tap in Lane Johnson. It allows you to be more creative on the edges. You can get creative in your running game, those off-tackle plays. And we talked about it off camera, how when LaShawn McCoy gets out there on the edge and is one-on-one, ACLs will fall to the ground, soles will lay. He's going to do damage, and that's going to be what you're going to see this year from the Philadelphia Eagles.
So you think they're going to build their team around LaShawn?
I think so.
It would be a good move. I mean, he is a playmaker. I just, if you score 44 and they score 45, you still lose.
Yeah.
And at some point, they got to address their defense, and at some point, that back end has to get better. I mean, Nnamdi wasn't good enough. Jason Allen wasn't good enough. Nate Allen wasn't good enough. I know I'm drawing a blank, and I should be drawing a blank.
Kirk Coleman.
No reason, there's no reason to really say their names. The players back there haven't been good from 1 to 42. So, your final impressions on the first 2 rounds of what they've done in the Chip Kelly era?
I like the Lane Johnson pick. When Peters was healthy, you remember when Shady had his best year, they did a lot of the draw sprint stuff, and Peters played tight end in college. Was drafted 7th round, made the transition, and before he got hurt, he was the best left tackle in football. Same athleticism, same skill set with Johnson. You're gonna have it on both sides, because Shady at one point that season it was predominantly production all off the left side. So now
it was.
All his biggest runs you remember was to the left side that
That's
year.
Sad.
So now you got another athletic guy at the right tackle. Harriman's, who's versatile, can bump back at guard. Danny Watkins, who can't play, is out the door. Jason Kelsey, you hope, is 100% back, because he was on his way to being one of the best centers in football.
Right.
All right, so let's jump from Eagles, because I mean, honestly, a tight end, lineman. I wanted Jordan, man. And I know you weren't high on Jordan. We talked about it in production, you weren't high on Jordan. But I wanted somebody that didn't remind me of Anton Davis. And when I see, he doesn't know who Anton Davis is. You know who Anton Davis is. That's why you laugh. That's exactly, or Bernard Williams. You know what I mean? Oh. That's what Aceto faces. That's what I thought of when they drafted Lane Johnson.
Man.
When I hear he's a guy that played a position for 2 years, I'm thinking, really? That's the move we're going to. All right, we're going to move on. Geno Smith. Now, before I say anything else, I want to run a list of names of first-round quarterbacks, guys that scouts deemed were first-round talents. I'm going to start out. This is the last 10 years. Well, exclude this one. This one was the first name I wanted to throw out there. Chad Pennington. Now, the rest of these cats last 10 years. Brandon Wheaton, Jake Locklear, Blaine Gabbert, Tim Tebow, Brady Quinn, J.P. Lawson, Kyle Bowler, and Rex Grossman, all deemed first-round quarterbacks. Guys worthy of being picked in the first round. Yet Geno Smith did not fit that list of criteria. Either one, I'm going to throw that one up. Explain to me what on the field he is supposedly lacking that these gentlemen had.
The only knock on Geno Smith that I would have is that he holds the ball a little bit too long, and that could be a result of the offense wanting to hit the big play, or trying to find the right guy, or it could be a sense where he knows that his defense is, lacking. They have to score 70 points in order to be in the game, and 75 in order to win it. So he's doing too much, but he holds football too long, takes some sacks. That's the only knock I have about him. Everything else he does very well. People want to knock the system, call it gimmicky. I think that's BS.
Same thing about Warren Moon.
Right.
The system was gimmicky.
If it was that easy, teams would stop it. And as quickly people want to point out the 20% of his passes behind the line of scrimmage or screen passes, he could have easily have thrown interceptions, or those passes could have been incomplete. But let's talk about the 400 other passes he threw past the line of scrimmage. Does everything well. I don't understand why he's not in the first round. Good quarterbacks don't lose. And this guy has won a lot of games, never thrown over 7 interceptions in a season, and he's played in 2 different offenses. I'm flabbergasted.
On the field,
Mm-hmm.
what shortcomings are they saying that you agree with that he possesses? Or what shortcomings does he have that would have kept him not deemed on the Kyle Bowler level?
I mean,
That's bad.
that's a bad.
That's past bad. J.P. Lossman?
That's
Yeah,
bad.
that's bad.
J.P. Lossman. Can you tell me where J.P. Lossman plays right now? Can you tell me where he is right now?
He played in the XFL
Brady
one
Quinn.
time.
Brady Quinn.
Oh, he was garbage.
Think about this now.
The reason why he sat there in that green room that night, it was a reason. I don't know who told him he was going in the first round, but I damn sure didn't have him graded as a first round quarterback.
And yet they were first round quarterbacks. Geno Smith was not.
I felt as though, I didn't think he was a top 10 quarterback, but I felt as though somewhere in the late teens, in the 20s, he should be selected. In my opinion, at times, slow eyes as far as getting from one side of the field back to the other side. Like Emery said, sometimes he held on to the ball a little bit too much. The game that he had, the bad weather game, like really stuck out to me.
Mm-hmm.
That game right there. But I mean, for the most part, I didn't compare him to last year's class, and I think he was good as those guys. No, I never said that.
He's a different type of quarterback. Outside of Luck, he's a different type of quarterback.
I didn't think he was that good as far as, RG3 and Luck. And even Tannehill, who surprised me with the season that he had last year. But I thought, on my board, I had him going, somewhere in the 20s, the late 20s.
All right. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to give my humble, astute opinion on why I feel Geno Smith lasted not only to the second round, but why I still feel the NFL is missing the ball on black quarterbacks. ComSports. Welcome back to ComSports. Now, before we went to break, we were discussing Geno Smith. And, I have my reasons for why I feel he was not selected in the first round. Part of it, before I even say it's because he's a black quarterback, I'm going to say it this way. People look at him and they see a certain type of quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He is not that quarterback. So if he's not that quarterback, then he's that quarterback. Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to fill in the blanks there. I'll take you there to bring you here. People look at him and they see RG3. They see Randall Cunningham. They see Steve McNair. He is not that type of quarterback. So if he's not those quarterbacks, then he's Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying when they see Geno Smith. They see a black quarterback who doesn't possess the athletic fleet of footness that gets them excited, that makes their areola squeeze up. So they say, okay, well, then he has to be Jamarcus Russell. And he's a polite young man, so he's definitely aloof. He's not a strong leader. He doesn't curse. He doesn't yell like Brett Favre. So he can't command the huddle. So they typecasted him. So he fell victim to that. Because he was a guy who, to me, was more, and I'm not putting him in the same class as Warren Moon, but possessed a more Warren Moon skill set than a Randall Cunningham skill set. Nobody wanted to see that. Yeah. And the fact that he lasted past the first round, if you can tell me that if his name was Matt Barkley, and he put the numbers that he put up, he would last past the 15th pick. The Jets would have snagged him with their second, but would they pick 13? When they picked Richardson?
13.
The Jets, speaking of whom, the Jets actually were the ones that drafted Geno Smith in the second round. You can't tell me that. I'm not convinced any way, shape, or form. And this isn't a knock on E.J. Manuel, who actually fits that Randall Cunningham move. So they see him, so they see athletic quarterback. Because if you notice, when they talk about RG3, you never hear a great quarterback. Great athlete. He's an athletic quarterback. He put the defense in difficult spots with his running ability. He had a damn good year throwing the ball. And as always, and Russell Wilson was good too. Russell Wilson was able to move the pocket. Mm-hmm. That's why I feel Geno Smith. It wasn't so much because people were racist in a sense. I think that they looked at him and they typecasted him. He can only play this type of style. And Jamarcus Russell, unfortunately, when you're dealing with African Americans, we only get one crack at the bat. And when Jamarcus Russell is first up, we all lose at that point. And then you look at videos of Jamarcus Russell trying to come back out, looking like the Hamburglar. It really hurt. It really hurt. So now that he's with the Jets, now that I got that off my chest, I feel better. Now that he's with the Jets, can he? I mean, our boys over there, Marty Morgan, mm-hmm. Can he do anything with them?
You know what? You tied right into my point that I was going to make. You made a great case for the black quarterback, but what they don't do for the black quarterback is what they do for what we talked about off camera.
Coach him.
They don't coach him up, and they don't add weapons. We talked about Detroit and how Matt Millen, I understand what he tried to do. Get this guy weapons. Got arguably 3 of the top wide receivers in college football. What happened with Donovan McNabb? Barely got any weapons.
We drafted Trey Thomas, though.
Exactly. Loads of tackles. Then you look at RG3. You don't get him weapons right now. You also look at Geno Smith going to the Jets. Who are their wide receivers? They have the same problem now that they had last year. Yeah. Lack of weapons. No running game. No receivers. They drafted a receiver that can't catch in a second round because he ran fast at the combine. Yeah. So they have the same problems this year that they don't. And a lot of times black quarterbacks don't get that opportunity. You don't get guys to, they don't build around those African American quarterbacks. And if they don't come out the gates flying on all cylinders or hitting on all cylinders, they don't get that second chance like you talked about.
Should we go after Mark Sanchez as Eagle fans?
Mark Sanchez?
I'm asking you. That's what you're here for.
He can't play.
All right. Okay, you say he can't play. What? So then Geno Smith should walk in there and get that position.
Oh no, Geno Smith's gonna have to earn it.
Well, but skills, talent-wise, he should be able to walk in there and get that position.
He a better passer coming out of college than Sanchez was. Has more experience than Sanchez did. There was a reason why Pete Carroll didn't want Sanchez to leave. He was trying to help him out.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And Sanchez went ahead and took the money.
In New York, you don't get an opportunity to grow into the position.
True.
Now, Geno has made mistakes. Some of them seem to be youth. Some of the things he needs to learn to this is the big boy leagues and nobody gives a damn what you say. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But can he survive the nonsense that's coming his way between? I mean, and everything from Rex Ryan only having 16 games left on his contract to Marty Morwig's pass first, pass second, pass third, possibly pass fourth. Yeah. You know what I mean? Offense. Can he survive those things? Or are we looking at another Tony Banks?
He's going to have to be strong-minded to play in New York City. Mm-hmm. It takes a special guy to be the quarterback for the Giants or the Jets, to be Carmelo Anthony for the Knicks.
Now, clarify what you mean by special for everybody. Clarify what you mean by special.
You have to embrace the city. You know what I mean? It's one of those cities similar to here in Philadelphia where they love their football. And then there, it's not, see here, the media here is sports media, but there, you got the tabloids chasing you around.
Kelly and Michael,
yeah. You know what I mean? It's more than just football there. Like Sanchez embraced the off of the field part of it. Sanchez loving the fact that he the quarterback in New York City, and now I get to mess around with model chicks, actresses, you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff, but Geno Smith's going to have a strong backbone and leave the Twitter alone.
Yeah, okay.
Leave the Twitter alone.
So when you say special, because one of the things Eli possesses that a lot of quarterbacks don't possess, he looks a little goofy, but Eli's got a pair that are like,
he got K.Jones.
Yeah, Eli doesn't care. He's got that little brother syndrome.
Well, that's because Eli is from New Orleans. I'm from New Orleans. It's just you're born with that. Okay. You have that swagger.
Really?
Plus, he has what you said, that goofy look, and that also buys you time where people don't mess with you. Like, He looks like he can't defend himself.
Yeah,
Leave him alone.
It's possum. So when you said special, that's what I was trying to get you to just kind of clarify that you have to have the testicular fortitude to deal with what they offer in that arena.
Definitely.
And that's important.
Definitely.
I don't think Gino possesses that. And it's kind of blasphemous. It's like I promised myself when I put together the run, I promised myself I would not mention number 7. But it's kind of blasphemous for a black man to take a shot at number 7 and the mistakes that he makes. Just you know what I mean?
You can't do it. You can't take a shot at 7 without the NAACP coming after you on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or whatever. Like I can't say 7
can't read the defense.
Didn't read the blitz and he didn't switch protection. Oh, when 7 played, the offensive line was a problem. Yeah. But the minute Foles come in, Foles switching protection.
Hold on, Brandon. Say that part for me again. Say that last part for me again. The minute
Foles took over, no one complained about Dennis Kelly playing right guard.
Right.
No one complained about the offensive line being bad. But when Vic played 7 every week, he's taking a beating. Well, he's taking a beating because
he didn't
see the free safety at the end of the line and didn't know that. All right, I got 5 linemen and there's 7 people coming.
That was an interesting game between them and the Cardinals because on the flip side, you saw Arizona. We talked about that as well. What happened when Cobb got out the lineup? Yeah. Now all of a sudden the offensive line is blocking better.
Exactly.
Maybe that's an Andy Reid issue. Think about the common denominator.
We're not gonna go that road though. We're not gonna make that show about 7 because I've gone on 7. If you ever go to .com sports TV and you .com sportstv.com, you have seen me rip 7 so many times. It's not even worth going back down the road. I think that people are going to be gun shy to rip Gino, and I feel Gino doesn't possess that testicular fortitude. He would have been better suited. We mentioned Jacksonville, but Jacksonville wasn't going to take another black quarterback. I actually thought he would have been a good fit in Denver, and we're going to take a break after this comment. But I felt like learning behind Peyton Manning for 3 years, then coming in Denver with limited expectations would have been better suited for him. I don't think New York is not going to be baby. They're not going to coddle him. You know what I mean? They're not going to want to hear his declarations on Twitter. You know what I mean? They're not going to want to see the tight jeans on TV thanking people for hating on him. You know what I mean? Unnecessarily tight jeans. Like, people don't want to see that in New York. So let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more NFL draft, and we are actually going to talk Vikings. .com/sports. Welcome back to .com/sports, joined by Emery Hunt, Brandon
Pemberton,
and Kwame Fisher-Jones. All right, now, some good players are left on the board, but before we talk about that, I want to talk about the draft that the Vikings had. I thought the Vikings had a pretty good draft. Brandon, what do you think about that?
Where they were able to get Sharif Floyd was a big deal.
Philly boy.
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to Sharif. For them to be able to get him when they got him, and some people thought the Raiders were going to take him at 3.
I never thought the Raiders were going to take him. I never thought. What was the last defensive lineman the Raiders took in the first round? Think about it. They usually go skill position in the first round.
They usually pick the fastest guy just because they fast at a position.
I never thought he would go there, but
I actually thought they were going to take Deion Jordan. But Al Davis, rest in peace, him not being there, that probably would have been his selection. A guy like Deion Jordan. Extreme athleticism. They took Bruce Campbell. They took Hayward Bay.
Well, let's talk about. I knocked you off track. Go ahead and finish talking about the Vikings.
Getting Sharif Floyd where they were able to get him was a big time move. He fits perfectly what they do defensively. He's gonna be able to come right in, play next to Kevin Williams, and that's gonna give you 2 guys at the 3 technique that's gonna get upfield and cause some havoc.
Okay. What do you think about what the Vikings did?
I love what they did. Sharif Floyd, he talked about it. They were looking to fill that void left by the other Williams that left a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Detroit, again, did a good job last year, but you need an upgrade at that position.
Yeah,
then I look at getting Xavier Rhodes. Big physical corner, 6'2", 215. Reminds me a lot of my old college teammate, Charles Tillman, as far as physical, great with his hands. May not be the fastest as far as time speed, but a guy that definitely can run wide receivers. You also look at Cordero Patterson. I've never seen someone like Patterson before. I actually compared him to Urban Fryer, a guy that played everything. I went back,
that's
right?
That's
right.
a name job.
Running back, receiver, returner. Put the ball in his hands. I can care less about experience. I know this guy can definitely put the ball in the end zone. I love what they did. They gave up a lot, but I love what they were able to do.
Well, did they really give up a lot, though? I mean, because if they grabbed the playmakers that you, I definitely think Floyd's a playmaker. You know, if they grabbed the playmakers that you need, they really didn't give up that much because, you know, what you're giving up is ifs and possibilities.
True.
You know, they grabbed what we can deem to be certainty.
Right.
You know, so I really liked what they did. Conversely, I want to get your opinion. No, I'm going to get your opinion because you don't like it. The Dolphins and what they did.
I think when I seen them trade up to go to 3, I'm like, oh, dang, they're going to take Lane Johnson. They lost.
I wish
Jake.
they did take Lane Johnson.
I
wish they did.
They lost Jake Long, so you needed a guy that was going to be able to come in and play tackle. They were trying to trade for Brandon Albert. That's still up in the air whether that's going to happen. They took Deion Jordan, and through the whole draft process, everything about Deion Jordan, they've been comparing him to all these great players from the past. But are you going to compare him to Ware? DeMarcus Ware was a sack machine in college. Like when you scouted DeMarcus Ware, what you seen was him rushing the quarterback and causing havoc and getting sacks and strip sacks and fumbles, forcing fumbles. They're saying Deion Jordan can beat his rush guy, but we haven't seen him rush at the college level. So how do we know that he's going to be this great 3-4 rush linebacker? All right, you had Jason Taylor before, you know, similar build. But, I mean, you want to take Deion Jordan at 3 when there's other guys? One, in my opinion, the pick should have been Lane Johnson for me. When you lost your left tackle, all right, we're going to replace him with the best left tackle that's left, that on my board was a top 15 player in this draft. So, you know, I was surprised with the pick.
Go ahead and jump in there, man.
Well, you look at, you know, you mentioned Jason Taylor. He was dominant at Akron.
Yeah.
And, you know, so he was a little bit more productive than Deion Jordan. I do love the athleticism. A lot of times you watch an Oregon game, you think, wow, what is 96 doing lined up in the slot? And it's Deion Jordan. So you can get creative in your defense. The question I have about Miami, and I may be in the minority with this, but you look at Ryan Tannehill, he is what he is. I think that's going to be an issue for the Dolphins down the line. He's almost like that Christian Ponder. You kind of know what you're going to get. I don't see someone that's going to be great. I don't see someone that's going to be terrible. I just see what we saw last year, that type of 15 intercept, 14 touchdown type of guy. And when you look at the 2 guys in charge, they ran off Jake Long, they ran off Reggie Bush, they traded Brandon Marshall, they cut Chad Ochocinco. They still lack playmaking. They overpaid for Mike Wallace, in my opinion, a deep threat. There's some questions, right? There's some questions right now in Miami that I think Deion Jordan actually can help them out as far as getting some pass rushing or trying to get some stops on in a running game. He's actually good against a run. I think their questions more on our offense, especially with Jonathan Martin at tackle.
So what team impressed you then? What team outside of the Vikings? Give me a team that you looked at and said they did a good job.
Well, when you look at overall, I think the Raiders did a good job trading down. They need a lot of selections, and still to come away with a talented player in the cornerback, DJ Hayden. Although he flew up the draft boards in the last couple of weeks, still a good player. He can play. But the good part about that was that they were able to get picks for that selection. They traded down, got a lot of picks. Now they could add youth to that team, because we know right now this season will probably be a dead season as far as getting rid of all that dead money and building with youth. And next year, I think the Raiders will be back where they want to be.
Denard Robinson.
Kick return, punt returner. The guy can run. We know with the ball in his hand, he can run. Making the transition to wide receiver, how tough that's going to be for him, you know what I mean, that's yet to be seen. But the one thing I do know is when the ball is in his hands, he can make plays with it. I know from the bat, if he can learn to catch punts, returning kicks is easier than returning punts. Returning punts is, you know, you really got to be sure-handed with that. But, you know, getting them in the kick return game right off the jump, I think he can make an impact there.
How about to the Vikings to replace Percy Harvin?
Well, you get Kadero Patterson,
who was the similar.
Exactly.
I meant to say
he
that
can do it all.
earlier.
You know, if I'm
Similar
the
type player
Redskins-
is Percy Harvin, bigger player and more sturdier than Harvin.
Okay.
And I like the Redskins being a good fit for Denard Robinson. Think about what he was able to do at Michigan, broken field running. So now you have a situation where you could throw him those bubble screens, kickoff return, punt return, in the same backfield with RG3. Now you have options back there. I think that would be a great fit for Denard Robinson.
It'd be nice to see be interesting to see Denard Robinson go to the Redskins, because the Redskins would then be bringing in another playmaker, and we would counter with Lane Johnson. Just saying. I'm just saying.
It's still early in the process.
You know, but
it's still early.
Look, I mean, at some point you got to go with a playmaker or go home.
It's a lot. It's some good value in this second and third round. There's some guys out there.
Well, we'll see. Eddie Lacy's still available. Now, if you're a team, I'm going to throw out like a team like the Giants or the Steelers, one of the teams that run downhill. Why would you not take a chance on Eddie Lacy at this point? What are the red flags there?
Well, been there, done that, bought the T-shirt. You look at what they really need is the explosiveness out of the backfield. So if I'm looking for something different than what we already have had, I'm looking at Jonathan Franklin. I'm looking at maybe an Andre Ellington. I need explosiveness out of the backfield, especially now with new offensive
What about the Oregon running back?
Keon Bonner,
yeah.
you can utilize him. You can also go Sierra Wood, maybe Theo Reddick later on in the draft. But Eddie Lacy, you have 15 Eddie Lacy's on your roster already. So why bring in the 16th version of Eddie Lacy?
But he's from New Orleans, or he's from Gretna, right across the way, and he's got the spin move. I mean,
he's one of those guys that gets what was blocked. Now, being from New Orleans, you know his toughness and his skill set is already there.
Okay. Now, I threw the name out Denard Robinson. I threw Eddie Lacy. I'm going to bring it back to a bigger name that a lot of people have. That a lot of people talked about, Matt Barkley.
Okay.
If you're a team, what type of team should Matt Barkley go to? What type of team should look to bring in Matt Barkley?
West Coast team.
They say West Coast offense or a team on the West Coast?
West Coast offense, short passing, timing. He's pro ready. Played in the pro system for 4 years. He's out of all the quarterbacks, he's taken the most snaps under center. You know, of all the quarterbacks that's in this draft right now, I think with his experience, you know, starting from day one, he might be the most pro ready from the system that he came in. They talk about his arm strength a lot. I think arm strength can be overrated. When you watch him play, he has good time and good accuracy, anticipates his passes very well, gets the ball out early, which can take up for not having Joe Flacco type arm strength. So, I mean, Matt Barkley's not the greatest athlete, of course, but when is a running quarterback won the Super Bowl anyway? So, I mean, a lot of people
quarterback played in the Super Bowl outside of McNair.
A lot of people, you know, taking it far with the read option thing. But at the end of the day, in this league right now, the game is going to be won by plays in the pocket.
All right, so I'm gonna cut it there. That's it for the draft. When we come back, we're going to talk some NFL news and notes. DeMarcus Ware trying to clarify put up or shut up. I don't know if you can clarify put up or shut up. There's no way to clarify get out. Like I think it's pretty self-explanatory. But I'm going to get these cats' opinions on that. Also, I'm going to talk a little bit about, well, you'll see when we come back. .comSports. And welcome back to .comSports. Now we're going to do a little rapid fire here because we got to shut it down in a minute.
Okay.
I'm just going to throw out some topics and I'm going to point to you. Emery, we're going to start with you and give me your thoughts on the Reeves trade.
It works well for Tampa Bay because now they have two outstanding corners, and I think that's
Who's the other corner?
Well, I like Leonard Johnson. I like what they have in Leonard Johnson. I'm a big fan of his
I was
ball
about to say.
skills.
Okay.
Like you thought you was gonna stop me, but I like Leonard Johnson, and I think it works well. But the Jets, in order for it to work well for the Jets, they would have to come away with offensive pieces, and he did.
Okay. All right. It's interesting. I didn't like the Reeves trade. I feel like you get a Hall of Famer, you keep a Hall of Famer. I don't think it makes sense to give him up. Your thoughts on the Reeves trade?
I thought it was something that they had to do. Bill Parcells said a smart thing. He said the team is 53 men. It's not one. And if one guy wants to take up a majority of the salary cap coming off of ACL surgery, then you let him go.
If they had paid him earlier, though, maybe he doesn't. Well, I don't like ifs. Just it seems like the Jets took the easy way out and then to come back and draft the cornerback didn't make much sense to me. Does Jamarcus Russell deserve a second chance?
I think so. Anytime you look at the league, and we've seen.
Did you really say? I think so.
I believe so. I strongly.
Is it Louisiana? Is that what it's
Partly, but also look at. We've seen Ryan Fitzpatrick. We've seen Matt Castle get opportunities. We've seen Jake Locker throw 47% every year. We've seen a lot of bad quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we talk about building weapons around players. We've seen Alex Smith go to another team. Look at what they tried to add for Jamarcus Russell. Crabtree on the board, you go get Hayward Bay and expect him to be successful. Yeah, he deserves another chance. He's only 27.
And he's 400 pounds.
But he got a cannon. He's
worked down
to 400 pounds. He didn't start at 400. He got down to 400. I mean, I'm just saying, 400 pounds, I don't think you get another shot at 400 pounds, especially when you weigh 400 after the money runs dry. Who has a better record this year, the Kansas City Chiefs or the Philadelphia Eagles?
I'm going to go with the Chiefs. The Chiefs, prior to the season before last, they won the division. Had 6 Pro Bowlers.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Cass, they broke the record for turnovers in the season, I believe. It came close. Matt Castle was the problem. Brady Quinn was the problem. The quarterback position was the problem. You bring in Alex Smith, who doesn't turn the ball over. You got Jamal Charles. You added Eric Fisher. You kept Dwayne Bowe. Moyaki, Eric Berry. Talent all over. They have a better roster than the Eagles now. They're ready. They're fit and ready to win that division next year.
Interesting that Andy Reid re-signs Dwayne Bowe, who he passed on when he had an opportunity to draft him. Love my man Andy Reid, boy. Love my man Andy Reid. T.O. wants to play.
Well, the thing is, can T.O. play? We know he's in shape, number one. But how much skill set is left in that 40-year-old body? We know he's there. You know he's going to put the work ethic in. Give him a tryout. We've seen receivers come in. Again, you think last year the Jets couldn't use T.O. and Ochocinco with what they had out there? So, yeah, give him a chance. If he proves he can't play like he did in Seattle, had some nagging injuries, then you just let him go.
Well, he dropped the ball in Seattle.
Yeah,
exactly.
He had a lot of drops in Seattle. If I'm not mistaken, he had a lot of drops in Seattle. All right, now I'm going to ask you 2 questions, and I want to get your I want you to open up, take your politician hat off. I want you to lean back, put your politician hat on. I want you to do the role reverse for me. Barry Sanders in his prime versus Adrian Peterson in his prime. I'm still this question from First Take, but it's a beautiful question. Who would you take, and why?
Man.
You get 10 words or less to tell me why.
Wow. Yo, that's such a good question.
So you got his politician. How can I stop the homelessness? Come on, man.
I don't want to slander somebody that was a legend during my childhood, but I like them both.
You can only take one home with you, though.
No,
Taking the thick one or the skinny one?
Me being me, I'll take the thick one home, but I'm going to take Barry Sanders.
Okay, good answer. Right answer. Why are you going Barry Sanders?
I'm going to take Barry Sanders. Played with less talent on the offensive line during his whole career. During the time when he played at the same time with Emmitt Smith, played with less talent. Lomas Brown was the only Pro Bowler that he had.
Lomas.
Damn good football player. And he went in, week out, quiet, and 1,500 yards, 1,600 yards, 2,000 yards.
Barry Sanders, Adrian Peterson.
Barry Sanders easily. When you can't hit what you can't catch. So that tells me he's going to be around for 16 games, 5.5 yards a carry, or 5-point-something yards a carry for his career. Give me Barry Sanders any day of the week. I know he may lose 2, may lose 3, but that third carry going to be that 80-yard touchdown run.
I love Barry Sanders. He's the reason why I hate the Lions to this day, because they did him dirty. They should let him go to San Francisco. But I'm going Adrian Peterson.
Wow.
I interviewed AD. He's a good dude. But not only that, the man played and got 2,000 yards on one leg.
Despite not having a quarterback.
On one leg. You can say anything you want to say. On one leg, on concrete. That's a bad man right there.
9 in the box every week.
That's a bad man right there. That's you can't jump that. Now, I'm gonna throw you another curveball. So you're going Barry Sanders. You're going Barry Sanders. Adrian Peterson or Emmitt Smith in their prime.
I'm gonna take Adrian Peterson again. Emmitt Smith, and you hate to knock a guy for having a great offensive line.
So don't do it then.
I'm not gonna knock him. I'm gonna knock him because he wasn't as explosive as Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson, again, he may get 3 yards, he may get 5 yards. Know that he's not losing yards, but that third carry will be that 75-yard run. Emmitt Smith will never give you that 75-yard run. It'll be a consistent 3, 5, 7, 20, 3, 5, 0. So I'm going with Adrian Peterson. Breakaway threat.
Before you chime in, now as an Eagles fan, I want you to be an Eagles fan here. You remember what Emmitt did to us?
Yeah.
Regularly.
I remember making me cry.
So you know how bad of a man Emmitt Smith was.
I hated him.
So that's the ultimate respect when you hate a dude. Like
Yeah.
when you really hate, like when every time you hear his name, you see his frustration come on his face when I mention Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith or Adrian Peterson in their prime?
I'm gonna go with Peterson. I think Peterson's a better player. Man, man for man, if you go skill set, faster, bigger, stronger, more explosive, like Emery said. That's not slighting Emmitt Smith, who's one of the best to ever strap it up. But Adrian Peterson is a special guy. He's special.
And I'm going to go with Emmitt Smith because of these. He's got 3 of them things, and he can catch the hell out of a football. On that note, for Emery Hunt, Brandon Pemberton, I'm Kwame Fisher-Jones. That's this episode of .ComSports. I said your last name right?
Yes, sir.
All right, because you look a little frustrated there.
Oh, no.
That's still on the Emmitt Smith note. That's this week's episode of .ComSports. Make sure you go to the website .ComSports TV if you missed any of this episode or our previous other episodes. We will be hitting the airwaves every Monday, 6 p.m. on Comcast and Verizon Files. I forgot the channel numbers, but it'll be on the website. And as always, if you don't check us out, we appreciate you. But as always, appreciate your time of year. Y'all be easy.
So let me hear you say yeah.
No rain, no thunder. Everything's like summer. The storm is over. Today is your day. No pain, no problems. Another day's been offered. Don't have to worry about a thing.
Yeah, out of the bed, get the stretching and yawning. Down on my knees, give thanks for the morning. A new day, yesterday, stress is a goner. I ain't got to deal with drama no longer.